What's up, y'all? It's your girl Crystal, but you can call me Chris. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. By the title, you know this is a checklist for you to have while finding a job. I know this is in my Moving to Dallas series, but anyone can use this. Honestly, this is nothing new, but as a recruiter, I feel like a lot of people don't implement these tips. So just want to make sure I give this information to you. I will be having a part 2, which will be all about LinkedIn. I honestly found the last 3 jobs on LinkedIn that I've had. And on top of that, I find 100% of my candidates on LinkedIn. So I am going to give you guys tips on how to have more visibility to recruiters on LinkedIn. So stay tuned for that. But as for now, let's get into it. All right. So number 1, you guessed it, make sure you guys have a bum ass resume, not bomb, okay? So here are some things that I would like for you to keep in mind while creating or updating your resume. So number 1, please keep it simple, keep it sleek. Don't do too much. Don't add pictures and boxes and make it confusing for recruiters or hiring managers to look at. Just keep it very simple. If you want to add a little bit more sauce to it, definitely, change the color of your name if you would like, but make sure it's easy to view on, our end. Like, don't make it orange or yellow. I would suggest like a dark blue or any type of dark hue color is fine, but just don't do too much. One of the reasons why is because when you're applying online, it goes through a system, and sometimes your resume or application could automatically be rejected just because of formatting issues on your resume, like the lines and boxes and stuff. So alleviate those issues by just keeping it simple and sleek. All right. Also, replace the objective statement with a professional summary. I really don't know who came up with the objective statement. We all know you want the job to make money, like, duh. Like, what else are we doing, right? So instead, do a professional summary, just summarizing your experience as a whole. Make sure it's relevant information. Make sure you're being detailed and adding, of course, like skills that are necessary for that position. This is very important. I really do look at these professional summaries, and it's just easier to relay your experience to hiring managers. So make sure you guys are putting together a nice professional summary on your resume. Also, put the education tab on the bottom. Like, don't put it at the top. We're not really looking at that first. We really want to get into what you've been doing and how your experience is relevant for the position. So refrain from putting that at the top of your resume and put it at the bottom of your resume. Also, don't add graduation dates. Of course, ageism is real. And there are people looking at these resumes. It's not a computer all the time. Like, at some point, a real person is going to look at the resume, and you just don't want to be out of consideration for the position because you seem too green. So instead, refrain from putting your graduation date. Just the only thing is important is that you have your degree. So put the degree, but no date. Also, in the lines of that, do not put the GPA on there. Like, I know we worked hard for those GPAs, but sometimes it could be viewed as, irrelevant, especially if it's less than a 3.0. But even if it's above a 3.0, like, I graduated magna cum laude. I had to plug myself in there. Okay. Period. But instead of putting 3.8 GPA on my resume, I just put magna cum laude graduate. So you can definitely add your accomplishment on there, your accolade, but do not put the GPA on there. Like, I've seen some people put 2.8, and it's like, wow. Okay. So don't do that. Also, just going into the body of your resume, please do not write a book, okay? like I said, these are real people viewing your resume, either a recruiter or a hiring manager, who are very busy people. We all are busy. So I only literally take like 30 seconds to review a resume to know whether or not I'm going to move you further along in the hiring process. So don't make my job more difficult by putting 30 bullet points under one job. Like, go back, look at your resume, see which information is pertinent to the position, see which is relevant, and only include the relevant stuff. Sometimes you can also add 2 of those bullet points and put it together and get your point across. So don't write a book, okay? Keep it simple and straight to the point. Whatever you need to get your point across, to make sure that you are known, like, hey, I have the necessary skills for that job, put that in there. But if it's not necessary for the position that you're applying for, please admit, we don't want to read a book, okay? Don't do that, period. Also, and this is very helpful for those who are looking to relocate, don't add your current location to your position. So when I was in Charlotte and I was applying to jobs in Dallas, I didn't put, my employer and then Charlotte, North Carolina. Didn't do that. Instead, I just put my employer and the dates. Putting the location there could get you out of the running of a job, especially if you're relocating, because even though positions are remote right now, there are a lot of companies that plan on going back into the office at the end of the year, and we are still looking for proximity. So if you want to be considered for a job in a different location, refrain from putting the location that you're currently at, so that way we don't look too deep into it. This is not being it's kind of being not shady. It's not shady. It's just you don't want to be out of the running, because if I am looking for someone in Dallas and I see that you are located in Charlotte, or your last jobs are in Charlotte, then I'm going to automatically assume that you're still in Charlotte, and I might just need someone right now, and I don't want to deal with that. So refrain from putting where you're currently located on your resume, even if you are not relocated. It's just honestly it's not relevant. Another tip, customize your resume for each role. So look through the job description and include some of those buzzwords, okay? Even though this is not cheating the system, this is making sure that as a recruiter, most of the time we're not doing the job that you're doing, right? Think about it in this perspective, in this lens. We are not customer service representatives. We are not software developers. So to make it easier for us to get you to the next step, include some of those buzzwords, okay? We are not the ones that are going to test your technical abilities. We are going to connect you with the hiring managers. So if I want to make sure that you're in consideration for that role, reread the job description and include those buzzwords, okay? Do not exclude those buzzwords, even if it's a synonym for what you already have. Just go back and copy and paste some of those and make sure you're actually doing it. Now, don't lie on your resume, because we'll 9 times out of 10 find out. But if you're currently doing that same thing and you just have it worded a little different on your resume, just change your wording to match the wording in the job description. Another important thing when it comes to your data in your resume, make sure you guys are adding numerical data. If you're a customer service representative, we all know that you are doing inbound calls, you're making outbound calls, you're responding to emails, but how many inbound calls are you taking? How many outbound calls are you making? How many emails are you responding to? Make sure you guys are putting a number to what you are actually doing, because as a recruiter, I will match that up with my position. So if my current position for a customer service representative, they are taking 50 calls a day and you're doing 60 or 70, I know you are qualified for this job because you know how to handle high volume roles. But I don't know that unless you put it on there, you know? So I will call you over someone who doesn't have that. Not saying I wouldn't call the other person, but I would definitely call you first. So be very specific in your bullet points. Make sure it's relevant information. Make sure you guys are including software that you are using. I know jobs are monotonous, especially if you've been there for a while, but take the time out to consciously think of what you do on your day-to-day and add it to your resume, especially if it's relevant to your position now and to the position that you are applying to. All right. Another thing that I will mention is if you are a contractor or have done contract work in the past, make sure you add contract to that particular role because you don't want to look like you have horrible tenure. So go back, make sure you are adding that this is a contract role and the contract role was 2, 3, 4 months. That's totally fine because you successfully completed it. But if you don't add that on there, it just looks like you left your job in 3 months. So be sure to do that. And in the same lines of writing a book, also, I don't know who came up with the thing of like limiting your resume to 1 page. That's totally false. Don't do that. Make sure you include relevant information for the role, but do not go over 10 years of experience. Like at that point, it's really not that relevant. If you do have like a certificate or anything like that, include that. And including certificates are very important, but also including the date. So that's one thing you actually need to include the date on because a lot of certificates expire. So make sure you include that. If there are skills that you've done prior to 10 years and you know is relevant, instead of adding it into a particular job, just put it in your skills section, okay? Highlight it there or highlight it in your professional summary, but don't go over 10 years because at that point, it's not relevant. All right, and those are all the tips that I have for you in terms of resume, updating and creating your resume. If I think of anything else, I'll definitely, update you guys. Or if you guys have any particular questions on anything that I mentioned or any specific question about your resume, please let me know. As recruiters, we're not considered like professional resume builders, but we definitely know what's important. And there are resume builders out there and creators and editors. So definitely, if you have the money to do so, I highly suggest you to seek professional help with that. If not, reach out to me. I can give you, what's important, what's not. And yeah, I am here to be a resource to y'all. So my professional email is in the show notes. So reach out to me or comment below and I will help you as much as I can. All right, so number 2 on the checklist is to create a cover letter. Now, I'm going to be candid with y'all. I really don't care for cover letters. I don't really look at them as much, but there are a lot of companies that do. So definitely create one. And the things to include in a cover letter is just kind of explain who you are, the position you're applying for, and why you want to work for that specific organization. So 45% of candidates do not add cover letters when asked. So be a part of the higher percentage. Put your best foot forward. And there are plenty of templates out there that you can follow to create a nice, comprehensive cover letter. But be a part of the number that goes the extra mile. It's just always best to do the most, honestly, especially when you're looking for a job. Number 3, register with staffing agencies. Staffing agencies are game changers for job seekers. Be sure to apply or register with these free services. So just to tell you a little bit about how it works, companies pay agencies to find talent. You will be linked with a recruiter who is typically your advocate. They will interview you, and it's not just for one job because staffing agencies work with multiple companies. So even if you interview with one of their companies and you don't get that job, they have other companies they work with, and you may be a better fit for another job. So it's a beautiful thing because it's not just a one and done, it's a long term relationship with a recruiter, and they always look out for you, mainly because they get commission if you are placed. So they will never forget about a good candidate. So always stay connected with your recruiter. If you're looking to relocate, definitely start registering with staffing agencies in your desired location. When I was in Charlotte, I connected with a lot of staffing agencies, and recruiters had my back. Even though I didn't get the job through the staffing agency, they definitely kept me in mind if they got a new job. Even when I moved here and I got my job on my own, which I'll tell y'all how in my second video. Even though I got my own, they still reached out to me once they saw other opportunities and always kept me in mind. So definitely register with staffing agencies is like I said, a game changer. Also, another thing to note about staffing agencies is that there are actually industry specific ones. So I worked at a tech firm for a while, and all we did was staff for software engineers and tech related roles. So you can Google whatever your industry is and find a staffing agency that specifically focus on that area. Number 4, create accounts with hiring sites. So I know most of us do this. So like I mentioned, I love LinkedIn. So make sure you have a LinkedIn profile. I will go over details in my second video about LinkedIn, but other sites include Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, and the list goes on. You can literally Google this stuff and find multiple free services to receive notifications on who's hiring at the moment, and etc. The basic level is free, and then you can go to premium accounts if you would like. I will definitely discuss the pros of LinkedIn Premium in my second video, so stay tuned for that. But register with and create accounts with as many hiring sites as you can. And there are actually some hiring sites that are industry specific. I know that I used, I think it's HR Hire or something like that. Hire HR, something like that, that was mainly for HR related roles and recruiting roles. So you could definitely Google your industry and sites that are specifically industry specific. So do that. Very helpful. Like I said, you'll get notifications on who's hiring and etc. Number 5 on the checklist, do your research. This may be the most important second to resume on this list, just because your time is valuable, okay, and you don't want to be wasting your time on companies that don't deserve your time. So one, put together a list of companies that you would like to work for, because although we're used to going online and applying to roles, just because the role isn't posted for that particular company does not mean that there's not an opening, because it could be a backfill, which just means that they are going to fire someone in that position and they don't want them to be alarmed, so they don't post that online. So put together a list of companies that you would like to work for and reach out to recruiters on LinkedIn. Telling y'all, LinkedIn should be your best friend when it comes to finding a job. In addition to putting together that list, figuring out which companies you want to work for, once you do find out the companies that are hiring on those sites, go on LinkedIn, go on Glassdoor, and do your research on the company. What I look at on LinkedIn when I'm researching a company is mainly tenure. So I will go to the company's page, go to the employees, type in recruiters, type in the location that I'm in, which is Dallas. So it will look like recruiters and then Dallas. And then I will go through those recruiters listed on there and see how long they've been at the company. That's so important to me, because culture means everything. I worked at a company that the culture was terrible, and I told myself I would never do that again. So I definitely was like focused on how long these recruiters were there. Another thing to consider is Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a very good tool for research on companies. The main thing that I look at on Glassdoor is, of course, the reviews. Also, you can use Google reviews for this as well. But on Glassdoor, I also look at the compensation. Listen, this saves your life. If you look on LinkedIn and most people post their compensation, so now you know what to expect from the company. Make sure you're also looking at their location and the region, because of course $75,000 in North Carolina is not the same $75,000 in California. Totally different. It does $75,000 in California is basically nothing, and $75,000 in North Carolina, you got a little bit of money, you know. So make sure you're considering that once you're looking at those reviews as well. But it gives you a good idea of how much they're paying their employees and what to ask for once you speak with a recruiter or hiring manager. So you're not lowballing yourself. You know you did your market research, and this is how much that they should be paying you. Now, never give one number. I always give a range when it comes to compensation. Never, ever, ever, ever give one number. And I will be doing a video on like interview tips as well. So I don't know when that's gonna drop, but it will drop. And once I do, I'll go over why you shouldn't just give one number when talking about compensation, but we'll get to that. For now, make sure you're doing your research on the companies using LinkedIn, Glassdoor, Google reviews. Anything you can find is 100% amazing. All right, number 6, and the final thing on my list, stay organized. This is very important, especially for follow-up. You don't want to not get a job just because you didn't follow up. Like I mentioned, recruiters, hiring managers, we're all people, especially if the hiring manager is doing the recruiting for a role. They have like their own stuff to worry about, and on top of that, trying to fill this role. So it might not be that you are not a good fit for the role, but it just may be that they are so busy they didn't have the time to reach out to you. So reach out to them. Make sure you're keeping track of where you're applying to, the location, the date, the contact person. All of that is important information, so that way you can follow up and make sure you're doing your due diligence to get that job, sis. Okay? So that is it for this video. As I said, most of the stuff you probably already know, but as a recruiter, some of these things I know that you guys don't implement, so I wanted to highlight that for you. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, click that bell notification button so you know when I drop a new video. Make sure y'all stay tuned to your girl. Talk to y'all soon. See y'all later. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.